Hello, I'm Anthony David Hobbs. If adventure had a name, it would be Indiana Jones, yes. When I was 7 years old, I think it was either October or November, I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first time, and I was fascinated. I was hooked, yes. At school, whenever you were allowed to draw anything you like, if you had a bit of extra time before playtime, I would draw Indiana Jones, make up Indiana Jones comic books and stuff. Yes, I was obsessed with Indiana Jones. And Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was going to be shown on TV when I was 7, yeah. So I couldn't wait till Christmas Day. I thought, oh, this is going to be the best Christmas ever. Yeah, I was really looking forward to it, yeah. And I remember this picture in the TV guide, yes. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It was originally meant to be called Raiders of the Temple of Doom, yes. They were meant to all be called Raiders something something sequels. But the idea was, no, in order to advertise better, we have to have that name in the title, Indiana Jones, yeah. And it sounded good, the poster looked really exciting, yeah, so I couldn't wait to see it. Every now and again I'd see a clip of it on TV, yeah. When finally Christmas Day did come, and I saw it on the telly with members of my family, yeah. All different ages, you know, it was something everybody liked. It was the film to see at Christmas time, yeah. Best film in the world, yeah. And it did deliver loads of action everywhere, non-stop action, yes. And I was so impressed I liked it better than Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah. I thought it was amazing, yeah. But what's my favourite Indiana Jones film now? Well, for a long, long time, Temple of Doom was my favourite. It was my favourite one as a child. Then after a time I liked Last Crusade, then Temple of Doom again, but at the moment my favourite one is The Lost Ark. So the original trilogy, they're all so good it's hard to choose really, yeah. Temple of Doom, in the opening sequence, Willie Scott sings the song Anything Goes. Most of it's in Chinese, but you know what I mean, the song Anything Goes. And that perfectly sets the scene, yes, anything can happen. And I think that's what I loved about Temple of Doom, this feeling of optimism, anything's possible, yeah. And, yes, when they go in that inflatable dinghy that goes out of a moving aeroplane, it slides down the snow, zooms off a big mountain, smashes into water down in the rapids and everything. It's like a roller coaster ride, yeah. And the bit when they're going really fast, being chased by baddies on the mine carts, when they're going on the track on mine carts, that is literally like a roller coaster ride. yeah, it's just loads of fun everywhere, yeah. I mean, it's a bit unbelievable, you know, how could 3 people possibly take on a whole army of bad guys? Well, you don't question logic like that as a child, and you just go with it. And that's part of the fun, the fact the odds are against Indy, but he can do anything, yeah. And, okay, nitpick time, okay. The character of Willie Scott, played by Kate Capshaw, you know. As a child, I didn't think there was anything wrong with her. I thought she's the comic relief, you know. In every great action film, you have a bit of comic relief. And apparently, Steven Spielberg, he originally wanted to bring the character of Marion Ravenwood back. But no, George Lucas didn't want this to be a carbon copy of the first one. He wanted this one to be different, the franchise take a different direction. In fact, none of the characters from the previous film are in this one, apart from Indiana Jones himself. Yes, yeah, this is a totally different environment, yeah. Marion Ravenwood is a tough girl, yeah, she can machine gun a load of bad guys, yeah, she can hold her own, yeah, she's tough. Willie Scott is a total coward, yeah, and does little more than scream all the time. And I don't mean life-threatening things, it can be a really minor thing that makes her scream. It's screaming all the time, yeah. Yes, this is a very different direction, yeah. And when George Lucas was asked, why is this character so different? Why is she a total wimp? And he said it's like a tribute to the screaming women in the 1930s, because the story is set in the 1930s, yeah. Like Fay Wray in King Kong does little more than scream a lot, yeah. But I'll be honest, there is this. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, in the mid-80s, at more or less the same time, they'd both just been for a really bad divorce. So yes, they both hated women at the time, yeah, so maybe that's the reason why they're such a weak-willed character, yeah. And, well, it has a happy ending. Steven Spielberg did marry the actress Kate Capshaw, and they're still together now, so yes. I have nothing against the actress, no, it's the character she plays, yeah. But to make it a bit more politically correct, around about the year 2008, there was a computer game on the Xbox of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and Willie Scott screams, and when she screams really high-pitched, it makes glass break so they can get access to an object that's useful for the mission, yeah. So to be politically correct, they made Willie Scott useful, basically. But in the original 1980s film, Willie Scott is not useful, not in the least. He's absolutely hopeless. Yeah. Yes, she's a very spoiled little brat, yeah. She hates being outside, she can't fight, she can't work out puzzles, riddles, or anything, yeah. In fact, the little boy, Shorty, is much more useful than she is, yeah. And but there is this. I'm going to defend Willie Scott. That's a phrase you don't often hear now. Even though she's not liked by a modern audience. When I was a boy and saw Temple of Doom, I didn't see the movie as sexist. No. Because Willie Scott, I just thought, you know, she's obsessed with her looks all the time, you know, she's not frightened of being killed, she's more preoccupied with how her hair looks or how her perfume smells. Yes, preoccupied with really petty things like that. I didn't think she represented all women. I thought that was just her as an individual. Therefore, I didn't think it was sexist, yeah. So, no, the movie did not make me want to be sexist in any way, no. Well, let me just put it this way. When a man is in a movie, and he's a hapless wimp, he's gawky and awkward and bumps into things, nobody sees that as sexist. But when a woman is gawky and awkward, people go, that's sexist. Why is that? Why does one woman represent all of womankind, whereas one man doesn't represent all of mankind? Yeah, why is that? That's a bit odd, that, yeah. And there is this, Willie Scott, she's not accustomed to adventures. She's not used to life-threatening situations. No, she's not used to it, so of course she's scared. She's absolutely terrified, yeah. Yes, she is the love interest of Indiana Jones, and she's the damsel in distress, but that's about it. Other than that, she has really nothing to it. She doesn't do anything useful for the mission, no. And Indiana Jones has nothing in common with her at all. Now, sometimes when a man and a woman have nothing in common, but they get it on afterwards, sometimes that's a good thing, because it means they put their differences aside, and deep down they like each other. But in this case, no, the reason they get, it's just physical attraction. Oh, well, that's not a good thing then, is it? No, there's nothing emotional about that. No, that's not a good thing, no. But, oh yes, the movie, technically, although it was made 3 years after Lost Ark, it's not a sequel. It is technically a prequel. It takes place in 1935, 1 year before the events of The Lost Ark. Now, why is this? Why is it a prequel? You know, would it work just as well as a sequel? Yeah. And apparently George Lucas said he didn't want to do the Nazis again. He wanted the bad guys to be different, like Kali worshippers this time. But, well, honestly, it doesn't really make a lot of difference if you see this one second or the other one first. Not really. You should see the third one third, but Temple of Doom and Lost Ark, it doesn't make a lot of difference what order you see them in. However, in spite of what I've just said, although it's a prequel, this does, yes, create a couple of scenes that don't quite coordinate. Okay, I'll tell you what I mean. When in Raiders of the Lost Ark, that scene, the Arab swordsman swishes his sword really impressively, and then Indiana Jones just shoots him. Yeah, so the fight lasts far less than you thought it would. It's a much shorter fight, yeah, and that's why it's funny, because it's an incredibly short fight instead of a long, drawn-out, coordinated fight, yeah. Anyway, there's a little nod to that in Temple of Doom. Two swordsmen swish their swords Indy. He goes for his gun, looking very smug, and then realises he's lost his gun during the battle, yeah, so... But you wouldn't really get that joke unless you'd seen The Lost Ark first. That's where that's a problem, yeah. Also, another problem with this being a prequel, when Indiana Jones goes looking for the Lost Ark in 1936, and some people warn him the Ark might have supernatural powers, and he goes, oh, rubbish, no, I don't believe in magic, I don't believe in the supernatural. But 1 year earlier in Temple of Doom, he has first-hand experience of the supernatural, so yeah, why doesn't he believe it then? So yes, that's rather silly, yeah. But in spite of, oh, okay, one last little nitpick, is this a blooper or not? Well, anyway, when Willie Scott is in the jungle, she's terrified of a bat, terrified of a monkey, terrified of a lizard, terrified of an owl, terrified of absolutely everything, basically. And Indiana Jones sort of makes fun of it, goes, oh, for goodness sake, don't make such a fuss. Why are you scared of everything? Why do you scare so easily? And then a snake appears, and Indy's really frightened of a snake, yeah. It doesn't clearly say this, though. I mean, unless you'd seen the previous film, you wouldn't get that joke. No, yeah. Okay, some positive things. Well, Indiana Jones in the Shanghai nightclub called Club Obi-Wan. Yes, that's a little joke because it's named after Obi-Wan Kenobi. There are nods to Star Wars. Yes, this movie is from the people that brought you Star Wars. The visual effects are by Industrial Light and Magic. And at one point, Indy says, "Luke, we're going to have company." Well, no, okay, he doesn't say that. He says, "We've got company," when he's in the minecart. So that's very similar to the line in Star Wars, yeah. And when the volcanic lava at one point makes the same noise as a lightsaber. And when the propellers of the aeroplane, because it's run out of fuel, the propeller noise is the same noise the Millennium Falcon makes when it doesn't work properly in Empire Strikes Back. So yes, little tributes to Star Wars there. Anyway, after they escape from the nightclub, yes, the gangsters double-cross Indy. Why is he so surprised this happens? They're gangsters, of course they're going to double-cross you. Anyway, he's been poisoned, so he has to get that antidote thing. Willie and Indy crash through those canopy things, crash land in a car. Short Round, aka Shorty, drives the car as fast as he can to get to their getaway plane. They use guns and everything. And they all escape in this air freight plane. It's not a passenger plane, not very pleasant, but needs must, got to get away fast. Why does Willie Scott go with them? The gangsters don't want her dead. Why does she go with them? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Anyway, afterwards, Indy wears his leather suit and his hat, the fedora and the whip. But when he's in Pancot Palace, wears a very smart suit with the glasses. Yes, his alter ego, if you like. Here he's Indy, and then other times he's Dr. Jones. Yeah, okay. Anyway, when they get to the Indian village, the mission is to get the Shankara Stone, and in addition to that, rescue all their children that have been stolen and made slaves. But Indiana Jones didn't plan to be in India. He didn't plan to do this mission. No, he got there by chance, but he's willing to do it anyway. Oh, okay, so Indiana Jones is ever alert for the call to action. Yes, he's ready for anything. Okay. Whereas in the first film, he planned to do his mission right from the start. Okay, this is a bit different, yeah. And afterwards, they go to Pancot Palace to find out everything they can. Where's this magic stone, the Shankara Stone, yeah. But again, why does Willie Scott go with them? She's made it very clear she doesn't like adventures, has no desire to do anything life-threatening. Why does she go with them? Why don't she just stay behind in the village? Yeah. But she goes with them anyway. Well, she goes with them because of plot convenience. That's why she's been shoehorned in, because she's the comic relief, yeah. Okay, a sensitive issue here now. Racism. Although the movie takes place mostly in India, oh yes, and when that line going along the map, past China, past Chungking, and then goes to India, and at one point they play the love theme. The love theme between Indy and Willie. Now, the love theme in the previous film between Indy and Marion is very dramatic and emotional, yes. The love theme between Indy and Willie is very silly, laughable, and sort of accident-prone, So, okay, this is a very different love interest. Anyway, when they get the movie, although mostly takes place in India, it was actually filmed in Sri Lanka and parts of Macau, because the Indian government wouldn't allow them to film in their country. They said the movie was racist, Well, we do see very evil Indians, like the Kali worshippers, yes, and they're very brutal. They steal children, make them slaves and everything. But why do they... Oh, yeah. Instead of grown-up slaves, they take children slaves, because although children are not as physically strong as grown-ups, children are easier to intimidate and threaten, so that's why they make more better workers. That's why they do it, yeah. The thing is, I don't think Indiana Jones is racist now. I didn't see it as racist when I was a child, no, because the village of Indians, they're all good guys. The people in the Temple of Doom, they're the bad guys. So it would be racist if all Indians were made out to be evil. No, it just makes out a select fewer evil. So that's not racist, is it? Nevertheless, the movie had to be filmed in Sri Lanka, which has, landscapes quite similar to the Indian jungle and stuff, yeah. Anyway, they get Indy and Shorty go through the secret passageway. They read writing on a wall, yeah, they're following the footsteps of Shiva. And then, accidentally, the spikes come through the ceiling. This idea had been done in adventure films many times before, so it's like George Lucas's tribute to that, yeah. And Willie rescues them. Dare I say it, Willie actually does something useful. Okay, she takes a very long time, yes. And hats off to the actress that plays her, because the actress in real life was terrified of creepy crawlies and bugs and everything. And while they were making the film, they poured bucket loads of creepy crawls on top of her head and stuff. And that's real dedication to a role, isn't it? You're terrified of insects in real life, so not a lot of acting required. Yeah, she was genuinely terrified, yeah. Anyway, Willie does something useful, rescues them, yeah. They get out, there's that famous scene when Indy just manages to retrieve his hat in time. And then they see the Fugi ceremony, they see a human being sacrificed. Now this scene, they always cut this scene out whenever they showed it on television in Britain, yeah. When Molar Arm actually rips a man's heart out. How can you put this? This is certificate PG, right? You can't do that in a PG. Well, you don't see any blood spewing out or anything, but nevertheless, it is really grim, really gory. Yeah, that's... No. So, in England, they cut that bit out, basically. But I didn't see the uncut version until I was a grown-up. But when I saw that bit again, I thought, oh, that man's had his heart ripped out. That explains why Indiana Jones is really surprised that he's still alive. How can you still be alive if you're... But he is. It's some sort of evil supernatural magic. And then the man is burned alive, because technically he's still alive, burned alive, incinerated. So we see the horror of that pit, that's what it's used for. So we understand the significance of it when Willie is chained into that thing, yeah. And then afterwards, Short Round, yes, he clearly admires Indiana Jones a lot. It's like hero worship. When they're in the village and Indy is listening gravely and puts his hands like that, listening, Short Round copies that, yeah. And when Indy is beating up a bad guy fiercely with his fist, he's punching a bad man, and Short Round is punching a bad boy. He's punching in the same style. So yeah, it's hero worship. Yeah, he's copying what he does. Indiana Jones never loses his hat, and Short Round never loses his hat. So yes, yeah, that's... Yeah, well, the franchise is very popular with kids, so to be more appealing to kids, they have a child character, yeah. And then, when, horror of horrors, Indy is turned evil by eating the blood of the Kali that drugs him up and makes him go in a kind of trance, yeah. Now, 1 year earlier, in Superman 3, Superman was turned into an evil guy for part of the film. Yeah, but the rest of the story is rather gawky and awkward. So yeah, the idea works better in Temple of Doom, yeah. Anyway, then afterwards, Shorty finds a way to revive Indy, make him be a goodie again. And once he's turned good, then it's non-stop action for the rest of the film, the remaining half hour. And I'm not exaggerating, literally non-stop action from that point on, yeah. But I loved it when I was a child. That's what was appealing about it, the fact there was more action, more over the top than The Lost Ark. Yeah, I just loved it. It's like a fairground ride, yeah. Yeah, and then they go in the minecarts, they free all those slaves, and there's a little nod to the original film again, when Indy has to beat up a huge, big, strong mechanic near the aeroplane, and he has to beat up a huge, big, strong guy, the Kali worshipper, yeah. The thing is, there are still people that worship Kali, and in India and in other countries, it is legal to worship the goddess Kali, so long as there's no human sacrifice. Yes, I want to make that perfectly clear, yeah. So you could say this is insulting to a religion, or you could say, no, it's not insulting the religion, it's insulting the bad guy's personification of the religion. It's not what they worship, it's the way they worship. They've gone too far. Human sacrifice is wrong no matter what the religion is, yeah. And then finally, after lots and lots of shenanigans, Indiana Jones gets to the suspension bridge. And this again was a little nod to the film Gunga Din, which has an epic action scene in a suspension bridge. I remember when I was a child, I'd imitate this scene in an adventure playground. I'd leap onto a suspension bridge, I'd almost fall off and everything, yeah. I was only about 2 feet above the ground. So yes, I would play, but I would play safe, yeah. So, yes, there are some things that could be seen as racist, and a few parts that could be seen as sexist, but overall I think Temple of Doom is an excellent film, yeah. You have to remember, in the 80s, a damsel in distress was not deemed sexist, but by the 90s onwards, if a woman is helpless and doesn't do anything useful, that's not appropriate, that's seen as sexist. So, if you like, the character of Willie Scott marked the end of an era. From then on, women couldn't be seen as helpless anymore, yeah. You've got to be more than just the love interest. You know, the leading lady has to have useful stuff to do, yeah. So in spite of a few bits and bobs that make it a little dated, yes, overall, Temple of Doom is a great fun ride. Just switch your brain off and see it as a fairground ride, then you can really enjoy it, yeah. And the Shankara stones? You need to see it a couple of times to get this. Why is it when the Shankara stones burn and get really hot, why is it they hurt the big villain Molaran, but they don't hurt Indy? Well, from what I can make out, he reads the magic words from that manuscript thing and the rest of it that was written on the wall. If you say those magic words in the right language, they will hurt the one that betrayed Shiva, but they won't hurt you, yes. The magic rocks were originally meant to combat evil, but because Molaran has corrupted the power, used them to do evil things, rip people's hearts out and turn goodies into baddies. Yes, he's corrupted the power. But what they were originally meant to do is fight evil, yeah. So when they eventually get the rock back to the village, it makes all their crops grow and everything fertile again, yeah. So, it's not the power, it's what you do with it, yeah. Okay, so I think this is a worthy addition to the Indiana Jones franchise, yeah. And is it too gory and violent for kids? Well, I wouldn't recommend anyone under 7 watching it. Even the cut version gets a bit grim, yeah. But Steven Spielberg simply said, it is the Temple of Doom. It's not the Temple of Joy and Merriment, it is the Temple of Doom. All your worst nightmares come true, yeah. So, if you've seen the first one, that'll prepare you for the horrors in the Temple of Doom, yeah. Okay, thank you for watching. I'm Anthony Hobbs, and I'm never bored.